Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Developer of the Year Par Tolles joins us. He heads up Tolles Development Company and he's here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Hello, is this D&D Roofing?
Yes, it is. How may I help you?
You did such a great job on my roof. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner.
Oh, can I speak to your supervisor?
Sure.
How may I help you?
I love your work. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner. We're all owners. Well, that's why at D&D we work so hard to keep your home safe and sound.
Oh, no wonder.
D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal. Local, employee-owned, here for you.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Early in the morning or throughout the night, professional truck drivers are on the job, serving you, safely moving freight that's crucial to our economy. From the oldest industries to our newest innovators, from the exotic to the everyday, trucks are everywhere, moving everything. Never afraid to embrace a future that makes Nevada and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're always pleased to welcome back to the program Par Tolles. He is the head of Tolles Development Company and just awarded Developer of the Year by Northern Nevada Business Weekly. Congratulations,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I look at 2021 as for business as an exceptional opportunity because there is going to be so much pent-up demand in so many areas. But I think the thing that stunned me the most in 2020, being such a horrible year in so many ways, was the boom in housing. Did that surprise you?
Yeah, a lot of things have surprised me.
Well, let's start down the list.
There are 270 homes available in December in Northern Nevada, or in Washoe County. 270, there was 770 available a year ago. So you are right, the boom in housing, we're not a single family housing developer, but the tidal wave of immigration from California is on. And I don't think we've even seen, we're in the beginning of the wave. So we can't build houses fast enough. It's really remarkable. And by the way, the median house price was $250 a foot in December. So we have a nice price escalation. We can argue whether that's good or bad, but the inventory is really lacking.
All right, so we knew from the numbers put out by so many different groups, including EDON and the state demographer, that we were going to need 50,000 homes over the next 10 years. Has that number now gone up in terms of need?
I think so. I think Mike Kazmierski's been beating that drum for a long time, and what his forecasts are playing out correctly. I think we've really found that we've become a COVID town. COVID's been actually a good thing from a real estate standpoint for Reno. We have, call us a Zoom town or COVID-friendly town or whatever you want to call it. The amount of people coming in that discovered Reno during COVID, I mean, the majority of the people that I talked to in our retail portfolio, they had some of their best Decembers ever because they were open. And the amount of Sacramentoans and Bay Area folks that were coming over to actually shop and have a normalcy of life had really boosted their numbers in December. And I think they have now discovered for what Reno is, and now that they can, maybe one of the spouses can work remote, they're actually thinking about moving here.
We'll get back to some of your points here in a moment, but I think that, I remember as a kid thinking that I was going to move to Reno, I'd be here a couple of years, and then I'd be going to San Francisco or LA, because those were the places to be back in the 70s and early 80s. I couldn't imagine for 1 second thinking of moving to LA or San Francisco. And in particular, San Francisco, I love that city, but the homelessness, the taxation, all the things that we know about that are bad there, I can't imagine why anybody who had the ability to move wouldn't want to move. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, you and I have similar paths. I moved from San Francisco to Reno in 1994. If you can believe that the Bay Area was in a recessionary real estate period in the early 90s, and Reno looked a little bit more opportunistic, which is why I moved. But yeah, I think, the fact that over vacation, or in the last 30 days, you had Hewlett-Packard, the godfather of the Silicon Valley, moved to Houston. You've had Oracle announce their move, I think, to Austin. You had Elon Musk, of course, announce his move to Austin. There's a real tipping point in what's happening in California right now, and the ability with technology to really have some of these very important signature companies start to plant their flags outside of the state.
The interesting thing for me, and I read Nancy Bruin's piece in the Nevada Independent about why Texas is winning. It did surprise me, especially with companies like Tesla that are already operating in a major way in Nevada, that they chose Texas. Is it more of an Austin thing, where Austin is the hip place nationwide, that everybody's looking at that place is a little weird, but that's a fun thing, versus Nevada?
I think there's three things. I think there's a tax benefit in Texas. They're very, very pro-business, and they will provide incentives for people to move there. There's a location incentive. You are centrally located, and if you're an Elon Musk that has to hit the East Coast and the West Coast on a regular basis, I think the ability to be centrally located and have those flight times to both coasts is really advantageous. And then I just think there's the labor force. I think Nevada, particularly, I would say both Southern and Northern Nevada, lack a tech labor base that allows for, if somebody that works for a high-tech company, if they lose their job, they can walk across the street and get another job. We don't have that here in Northern Nevada. We built the Microsoft Intuit campus back in the early 2000s, and I thought that was really the tipping point for Northern Nevada, and that we would see an inflow of companies like that. And it didn't happen. And I think then we went into the recession. I think the Tesla factor now has really built up a skilled manufacturing base. So you're seeing other companies that feel comfortable moving here because there's a labor base that can support it. And my hope is you'll start to see more white-collar engineering jobs follow suit. I think it's been distribution, skilled manufacturing, and now you'll see some tech jobs that will discover Northern Nevada, and we'll build up that labor base.
Okay, so with Brian Sandoval now as president of UNR, that would seem like that would be a huge leg up to that, based on what he did as governor in attempting to attract high-tech firms to Nevada.
Could not agree more. I think Governor Sandoval's position at the university is just such a beacon for as he can reinvigorate his Rolodex from when he was governor, and still, he's going to have an important voice in Northern Nevada. And yeah, I think he's going to be, it's going to really help us down the road.
Is it the responsibility of businesses to go to the universities and the community colleges and say, this is the workforce we need, and here's how we're prepared to assist you in developing that workforce, and even to K through 12? Yes,
I think that's what Stanford, Berkeley, some of the really known Bay Area universities, they had great liaisons to the business and the tech community, and they worked in unison to really help develop that infrastructure. And I think if we do the same, I drove around UNR over vacation and haven't done it in a while, and was just, again, overwhelmed at what's happened there and the beauty of that university and the sophistication that's starting to bud in that university. And if Governor Sandoval can take the infrastructure that's there and really create this ecosystem that has started, but really mature it, I think our best days are really ahead of us.
Incentives. we've had Rob Lang on the program from Brookings, Dave Demore, who have been very concerned that Northern Nevada has been getting more in the way of incentives than Southern Nevada, and that there's an inequity in that system, and to an extent blames the system. Ryan Juden was on the program, and who's the city manager for North Las Vegas, and said, we just want to see a sense of fairness. Lance Gilman was on the program saying, hey, it's competitive, What's your position on all this?
Yes, I think I'm in Lance's camp. I think you've said this many times on your show that Lance and Roger had the foresight to put infrastructure into a large park of their own money. And that was the chicken, if you will, and the egg was their success with the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center. And with that came the ability to use incentives to actually help them mature that park. I think it is competitive. I think companies will evaluate labor base, incentives, environment, both in northern and southern Nevada, and choose accordingly. I'm very pro-incentive. There needs to be a governor on incentives, but you can't, the ability for Tesla to change the dynamic of northern Nevada, which was encouraged through incentives, can't be overestimated enough or underestimated enough. It's just been incredibly beneficial to this part of the state.
Yeah, and you were talking about developing Intuit and Microsoft back in the day. For those of us that were following the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, we thought the Walmart distribution plant was going to be the big incentive to drive people to the area, because the purveyors to Walmart would buy up land around that plant, and that would be the growth area. That wasn't the case at all.
No, I remember when Walmart made their announcement, planted their flag. It was a 1 million square foot building, the largest building that had ever been built in Reno. Who would have known that Tesla would have then announced a future 15 million square foot building?
Which is still an unbelievable number.
Hard to get your mind around, but yeah, that was the kickoff for what has been, again, this distribution moving into skilled manufacturing and then hopefully beyond. So.
All right, so if you're talking to your compatriots in Southern Nevada, what do you say to them that because my suggestion was you need to find somebody who's willing to invest $100 million, in a business park in Southern Nevada. Ryan Juden's point was that they don't have just one owner at Apex. They have multiple owners who, we've heard this story before, don't agree on hardly anything, especially putting up large amounts of money with maybe a payback, maybe not. What's your advice to them? Because they need, obviously, to diversify, and I don't think there's anybody I've ever talked to in Northern Nevada in development that's ever said, we think all the money should come to Northern Nevada. I've never heard that.
No, I haven't either. I think you have to realize the advantage that Northern Nevada has from a location standpoint, too. I mean, we've been a much more vibrant industrial hub because we can hit 11 western states overnight. And Southern Nevada, if you're distributing to Arizona or to Southern California, then Vegas has an advantage. You have an advantage of being in Southern Nevada and Las Vegas. But we will always be a more important hub of industrial and manufacturing just because of where we're located than Southern Nevada. So I think Southern Nevada can get their fair share, and I think they're a larger city, and so they will continue to attract jobs that need a broader base of employment. But I don't think they're going to compete on par with Northern Nevada ever, really, from an industrial standpoint.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back with more with Partols after this timeout.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you. But we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
Hey, Dad? What are you learning? This place is great.
Huh?
You gotta try this.
Wow, this stuff is great. People are gonna love it.
Yes. Yes, they will.
The signs and symptoms of cataracts can start out small with subtle changes in your vision. So don't wait. Be proactive and take your vision into your own hands. If you're experiencing the onset of cataracts or just have questions, contact your eye care professional or call Eye Care Associates of Nevada today. Dr. Hiss has years of experience specializing in the surgical correction of eye disorders and has completed over 84,000 vision correcting procedures. At Eye Care Associates of Nevada, we'll change the way you look at the world.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Developer of the Year, Par Tolles of Tolles Development Company, and one of our proud sponsors. Thank you for that. So it seems to me, as I look at the business outlook, that businesses are not planning for what's going to happen in the next 2 months. They've been planning what's going to happen in the next 5 years. And so it seems like none of the major construction projects have slowed down or stopped at this point in time. Everything seems to be continuing. The last time you were on the program, you said that your funders were continuing to have faith in Northern Nevada. Is that still the case?
Yes, and I think I mentioned on the last show, the 4 food groups, if you will, of real estate in Nevada. You have industrial multifamily, which are still gangbusters. Then you have retail and hospitality, which have slowed down. So, in office, I'll add a 5th. So I think office has remained remarkably stable. I think the vacancy rates have not been injured as much as they have in other primary markets. It's so ironic to think that a year ago, if you owned a high-rise in San Francisco, that was the prized possession. Now you don't want to own a high-rise in San Francisco or in any major city. And if you have a suburban office building in a secondary market, that's in vogue, and that investment capital sees that as a safer investment. I think retail, experiential retail, will continue to do okay. Obviously, big box, small retail, we talked about that even before COVID, will continue to slow and be repurposed. And then I think hospitality is really the interesting one. We broke ground on a Hyatt hotel at the Summit Mall, which is in South Reno. And we put it on hold in late March when we saw things progressing poorly. And we're now evaluating, okay, is it time to build that hotel? Is leisure travel going to make up the increase in leisure travel, which I think is going to come to Northern Nevada? Is that going to make up for the slow comeback of business travel? And that's an evaluation we continue to look at, and my hope is that we'll break ground in the spring.
Okay, so I heard this interview with the head of United Airlines, and he was being asked about business travel coming back. And his response was great. He said, the first time that somebody who did a Zoom meeting loses a deal to somebody who showed up in person, business travel will be back full on.
That's great. I hadn't heard that, but that's a great line. Yeah, if you really want to get one up on your competitor, you're going to be the one that is willing to travel. And I think you've traveled a little bit over the last year. I have, and I felt very safe. But I think as we come out of this, as the vaccine is rolled out, that's going to come back. Business travel will come back slower. I mean, the overnight to San Jose may be replaced by a Zoom call. But eventually, I think in the next 18 to 24 months, we're going to see it at least kind of to that 80% back. And then as we move in to 2023, it's going to come back to hopefully where it was back in 2019.
You know, it was interesting to see how rapidly the locals gaming came back, not just in Nevada, but across the country, that pent-up demand. I think that once you release that pent-up demand, for the older folks, when I say older folks, maybe 50 plus,
right.
Versus the younger people who are still doing what they do because they're young people and they're going to do what
right.
they do. But I think that that's going to be a very rapid transition. I think we may be surprised at how quickly that moves. And I think you've only got to look at the traffic leaving Las Vegas on the weekends, an 11-mile backup this past weekend coming out of Las Vegas into Southern California. I mean, people are ready to do this. We just got back from a trip to Sedona. The only time I felt uncomfortable, I was comfortable with everything. The hotel, the flight, all of that was fine. The only place I felt uncomfortable, and this is kind of weird, is on the bus coming back from the rent-a-car place to the airport. They had separated the bus driver from the passengers, but there wasn't any real separation. And there was a large group that was standing and sitting next to me, and I just turned my face towards the plastic guard because I did not feel comfortable with that.
Right.
That was the only time in an 11-day period of going to restaurants, going on tourism type things, traveling, that I felt uncomfortable at all.
Yeah, understood. I agree with you with business travel coming back. I guess my biggest worry is just the convention business. I mean, our state's built on conventions, and that conventions are groups of large people. So I think the individual business travel, if you're coming here for a meeting, it will pop back very quickly. I think it's already starting to come back. But how we make vaccine equals convention. So that's
and rapid testing.
And rapid testing.
Joe Rogan has talked about this on his podcast, that he wants to open a comedy club in Austin. And if you can do a 15-minute rapid testing where you can test everybody before they go into a comedy show, so that people are comfortable that everybody in that comedy room has been cleared and that they don't have COVID, that nobody will have a problem with 200 people in a comedy club.
Agreed. Yeah.
Okay, so the restaurants, you know, for people that don't know, you develop, you know, restaurants, offices, and large commercial and industrial complexes. Right. The restaurant business was obviously devastated for a long time, and you did a fantastic job of supporting your customers, not only by doing rent-free for a long time, but also by literally going in and buying lunches for lots of different groups to help keep them afloat. How are they doing at this point?
I think the 25% is keeping most of their heads above water. You know, now that to-go business has been normalized and they've got they're streamlined, they know what they're doing. Most of our restaurants have been able to keep their heads above water. So I'm looking forward to us moving back to the 50%, and I'm hoping that's around the corner. But yeah, again, I'm going to repeat it. The influx of Californians coming here to have a normal weekend, the to-go business, and the ability for the governor to, I know he's walking a tightrope here, but his ability to keep us open has helped them survive. But you know, that can only last for so long.
Are you optimistic that the new administration is going to be able to get something through a second phase beyond this close to $1 billion, $1 trillion, not $1 billion, $1 trillion funding package that will help businesses further?
I hope so. I mean, I understand the stimulus check. I understand it to a point. I'm really interested, and that's one thing I'm going to do this week is really understand in this new stimulus package what is included for small business. Is there going to be another PPP loan? Is there quick access for small business to receive funds that can help them survive this, what I would expect will be a little bit of a Christmas wave here coming in the first quarter. But you know, that's going to be counteracted with the vaccine. But our small businesses continue to need help. So.
All right, let's take another break. We'll be right back.
Dimitri Prine here for Design Outdoor. At Design Outdoor, we specialize in all hardscapes, pavers, and walls you'll need for everything, from wonderful small yards to full-blown outdoor living. And we only refer the best contractors to make your vision a reality. Our store and backyard are located at 11600 South Virginia, just north of DeMonte Ranch Parkway. Visit designoutdoor.com or call us at 851-9499.
I'm men's rights attorney Marilyn York, and because I represent men in all family law matters, women often call me gender traitor, woman hater, and even disgusting. So why represent men and target myself with these offensive monikers? It's simple. Children with fathers in their lives are 6 times less likely to drop out of school, 15 times less likely to go to prison, and 5 times less likely to commit suicide. So ladies, you can hate me, but please love your children more than you hate their fathers.
Hi, I'm Dave Newman. Remember me? I used to be the house detective, and now I'm a realtor full-time at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates. A lot of people ask me, how's the market? You know what? It's fantastic. If you're even kicking around the idea of buying or selling, give me a call. Let's talk about it. Call me at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates and just ask for the guy who used to be the house detective, Dave Newman.
The signs and symptoms of cataracts can start out small with subtle changes in your vision. So don't wait. Be proactive and take your vision into your own hands. If you're experiencing the onset of cataracts or just have questions, contact your eye care professional or call Eye Care Associates of Nevada today. Dr. Hiss has years of experience specializing in the surgical correction of eye disorders and has completed over 84,000 vision correcting procedures. At Eye Care Associates of Nevada, we'll change the way you look at the world.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Par Tolles, Developer of the Year of Tolles Development Company. Quick answers. Your biggest hope for 2021, your biggest fear?
My biggest hope is for a rapid evolution of the vaccine and distribution, as well as rapid testing. My biggest fear is as I mentioned before, the slow comeback of the convention business in the state.
And that's where we have to leave it.
Okay.
Always a pleasure to have you on the program.
My
Happy
pleasure.
New Year, my friend.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
And we'll be right back. Brian Culpa Photography was born in the rolling hills of Massachusetts, and now he can help you experience the stunning beauty of Nevada in a whole new way through the power of flight. Flying has always been a passion for Brian, and at Brian Culpa Photography, he can make your imagination soar. Brian has the creative mind and tools to tell your unique story. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hey,
Dad?
what are you learning? This place is great.
Huh? You gotta try this. Wow, this stuff is great. People are gonna love it.
Yes. Yes, they will.
As you know, Reno is booming. Tolles Development Company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Tolles Development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollesdevelopment.com. tollesdevelopment.com.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Watch Nevada Newsmakers on YouTube. You can do that now these days. We'll see you on the next broadcast.